Sponsored by Carnation. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This show's entrance has been edited, produced, and directed by Gwen from Perfect Trust Productions, LLC. You can find us at perfecttrustproductions.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Syracusa, and Philip Syracusa. We're broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for this sponsorship. You'll have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to our YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio. You can also go into all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, also Twitch, SoundCloud, Podbeam, and you can also go into our group, Horsefly Chronicles Radio. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. So tonight, guys, we have two amazing guests. So please welcome to the show, Archbishop Plato Angelakis and Sister Lucie Sophie Marie. Plato is commonly called for help when things get really bad. People who become under oppression or demonic depression and have no idea what they're dealing with. Plato is well-known. He's a well-known exorcist in the field of paranormal, working with the National Catholic Church in Canada. Joined with him tonight is Sister Lucie, who took her vows in August of 2022. She has also become a full-fledged member of the Order of Exorcists under the guidance and protection of the Mexican National Catholic Church. So please let's welcome them both to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
Great to have both of you here tonight.
Yes.
I know Julie wanted to start out with the first couple of questions.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. So,
by all means.
Plato, you were on our show back in 2020. So can you both please take us to the beginning of your stories for our new listeners who may not know who you guys are?
Well, I'm basically an archbishop in the Mexican National Catholic Church, which is a handful of churches that are independent Catholic, meaning that they're not necessarily under Rome, but they run autonomously, but recognized by Rome as being valid. So that gives me a little bit of latitude to be able to sort of run my own show, so to speak. Being independent, I've out just doing regular priestly duties, and one day I got called upon to help on a case of an exorcist case, possession. And since then, it's just everything's gone. History's right there. It just went that route, and I've never looked back. And I've just evolved to bringing in more teams and growing the ministry to a point where I'm like with Sister Lucie here. I'm bringing people on board that have special gifts that I now utilize. I've come to know through my ministry practice. And of course, having that latitude to be able to do things that are outside the normal framework of mainstream churches, I utilize the gifts that I come across from with people, whether they're clairvoyant or they're mystics. I found, and I have found a lot of people have found that those gifts have come to really produce some fruit and really have seen quite an impact. The awesome outcomes with people who have all kinds of possession, oppression, manifestations, you name it. It really has made the ministry quite, the outcome's quite positive. There isn't like very rarely have to go back a second time, if any. But like I said, I utilize those. So this is where I've been, and this is where my journey has led me to now. I've focused myself totally on spiritual deliverance and exorcism, utilizing those other gifts that people have, that I can bring on board and just enhance that ministry in the paranormal.
I like that. That says a lot about you, your character, and that you're helping people. And I like that a lot.
And Sister Lucie, how did you guys come together and work together as a team, and how did you get started?
Well, it's a long story. I started my own spiritual awakening journey almost 20 years ago. So I got into Reiki, pranic healing, did that for quite some time. And then I met my friend Angela almost 3 years ago, pre-pandemic. We started a YouTube channel called Queens of Wands, where we explore all kinds of things that are spiritual, esoteric, metaphysical. And we started doing paranormal investigations as well. We joined a group of other 2 men. So we started doing a show called The Paranormal Voice. And The Paranormal Voice was going to have Archbishop Plato on as a guest. And we had him on. And when he was here, he took us on our first exorcism. And ever since then, we've been hooked. And I decided to be consecrated so I could be upfront with him, and decided to form a sisterhood so we can have other sisters join us with their own special gifts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was kind of like it's funny how the door opens up for people, and like I was supposed to come down for, like she says, like for an interview, and along the way I knew I had a case that's been really pending since the pandemic. I haven't been able to go down to take care of an exorcism just outside of Detroit, and so I've been waiting to be able to help this lady. I have sent out a lot of preparatory work for her and whatnot. Very patient lady, waited all of a year and a half, and once everything sort of opened up, I was said, "Oh, this would be a great opportunity." So when I was offered, one of the gentlemen that Sister Lucie's mentioned called me up. I know him well, and he invited me down to do a local event, like a fundraiser. And at the same time, we were going to have an interview, and then I was going to do my exorcism the next day on the way home. So I was going to do 3 things at the same time. I figured, why not? I'm traveling all this distance. Then, of course, the gentleman called me up and said that the event has been canceled. There wasn't a good turnout, whatnot. So he wanted to cancel out, and they were just going to do the interview remotely. I said, well, I need to come down and do an exorcism anyway. So then I invited the group. I invited Sister Lucie, Angela, a friend, and 2 gentlemen, and a few other people, and to come and join me and help me, and they could actually film this event, this exorcism, and it was quite profound because we actually captured quite a lot of the transformation, eyes, everything, like how she transformed from what was to what she is now today, which is great. The outcome was wonderful. Again, I used, not even knowing Sister Lucie at the time very well. They all had gifts, so I brought them in on board and told them what I needed them to do, and they sort of gone through, went to the house, explored, had a feeling, came back. We sort of discussed what was captured and what they felt, and we moved it, we documented it, and they were great because, again, their gifts were very effective. The outcome was positive. Me, that's how I gauge things. If I can produce fruit and a positive response or a positive outcome, that I know that I've done something right. So it's awesome. And of course, like Sister Lucie said, the whole team got sort of hooked on the whole process. They've never actually seen one done. And Sister Lucie wanted to come on board as a sister. And again, her premise and agenda, which is something that I'm trying to build. Unlike you remember Sister Kia, right? I had several years ago. She's still on board. She's had some medical issues, but she's back on her feet and back and doing things. Again, someone totally different, totally again into the spiritual deliverance. And Sister Lucie is also such. Again, it's the agenda is to bring people on board. Specifically, I find women are specifically more sensitive than men. They seem to have the gifts of that clairvoyancy that I find quite effective at what I do, and it really complements what I do. It makes my job a lot easier, to be honest with you. I can't even imagine going forward as an exorcist without that, honestly.
Can you take us to a case? So
Yeah.
someone calls you, they need help, they
Mhm.
think that there's something going on. What are the signs that you look for in a family in a residential home?
Well, there's a lot of vetting, a lot of interviews that need to go on. It's not like you're just going to show up and then this is going to be a several month process. Mind you, it's a lot shorter than what you would get if you had called the Vatican. You might wait 2 or 3 years, but there's definitely a month, 2 or 3 months involvement. And we're going to be doing some interviews. I may actually very well send in a paranormal team initially. I would just send a team in, set up cameras like any other little team would. Audio tape, do the EVPs, do all those things, do the whole complete package, and come up with. And if I find there are some activities going on, then we'll proceed from there. A lot of times I get a lot of calls and it's nothing. It's just people, thinking there's something wrong, and there's nothing there. And of course, I also have to take in consideration the mental health issue, because that is definitely something that I have taken courses at the Vatican for the exorcism course that they provide, and a lot of that had to do with how to distinguish between mental health and demonic or oppression or infiltration. So we have to take all that into consideration. So I have to be really careful that I'm not dealing with someone who just has mental health issues, because it does manifest as if you have mental health, like schizophrenia, for example. So that's something that I have to rule out. So yeah, the whole process is I'm going to go there and I'm going to interview the person, and I'm going to interview the family members, everybody that's involved. We're going to hopefully have a paranormal team that can investigate, give me some data if there's anything at all. And then, of course, I'm going to send people who have gifts, like Sister Lucie, who has that clairvoyancy, and come in and they can pick up on what's on, who might be there, how they got there, why they're there, who brought it in, why is it attached to one person rather than another person. All things need to be taken care of and looked at. What I do is the last thing. I'm going in to do the final cleansing with the help of the rest team. But all that preparatory work is done by the ones with the gifts, and the ones that can do the interviews and the investigation of the whole.
Yeah. How do you rule out the mental illness from the paranormal? Because a lot of times these entities will attach themselves to someone who may have some type of mental illness. So how do you divide them?
Well, a lot of times I will bring in like holy objects, for example, and place them in obscure places where, or I would bring them in, or they're not holy, they're not blessed. So I want to see the reaction, how people are. I don't even tell them I bring them in, and I want to see how they react to the holy objects. Someone who has mental illness will easily react and pretend that it's something demonic when it's not. So it's just basically trial and error, trying to figure things out. I mean, schizophrenia is only one of the many various mental illnesses that is very hard, because it really presents like demonic when it's not. And so with schizophrenia, the person has that 24/7. I mean, they are seeing that regardless. They're seeing other people. They're sort of presented in that form, where someone who's demonic will come in and out of it. Like you'll come out of schizophrenia and go right back in. So it's that's what it looks like. It's kind of intermittent. You're in and you're out, and that's where you have to kind of capture when he's out. Like I've had people who have been demonically, and they when the rest of the people are not looking, then they're looking right at you, and they kind of I'm in with you kind of thing. So it's kind of just really picking up on the cues. They're in and they're out, where someone who is truly schizophrenic will be schizophrenic 24/7, whether you're there or not. Where when I'm there and I'm trying to invoke whatever entity might be there, they will come in and out of it. And then I know for a fact that it's demonic, because they're playing the game. They're in and they're out. So it's just kind of those just was one of the many various examples that I can give. But but again, it's bringing in holy objects. It's to entice it to come out. It's doing prayer work, having to try to see if they actually will pray. I have a series of prayers that I send them, and I will actually stand with them and have them say it. Like they're like basically like renouncement prayers. I renounce the devil, I renounce the occult, I renounce all these things. And a lot of them can't do it. If they really are, they cannot do it. They have to go through it 3-4 times, and they still can't complete it. The ones that go through it, no problem. I know that there's not an issue there, but it's kind of those kinds of things. There's certain prayers that I find that the demonic the person cannot say the words. So it's just little things like that I have to try out. And everybody's individual. They ain't the same situation. Every case I deal with, what am I going to do? Again, I use the people with the gifts because they really give me the enlightenment and tell me what it is what's there. What do they sense? Is it evil? Is it just benign? Is it just a spirit that's hanging around that needs to move on? Of what's going on there? So I need to for example, we were at the case that was Sister Lucie and I, and one of the things they picked up was that the son brought it in, and when it actually arrived at the house, it seemed to be attached to the mother. So it was the mother that I was working on, but it was the son who brought it in. And when I told the family members that when I get there, no one leaves the house. Everybody stays there. I never had anybody leave the house. We put salt around the house, and everybody needs to stay there. And the son wanted to leave, and actually did leave. And the father called him back. So, and it was just capturing those things where, that's the coincidence where they're saying, well, the son brought it in. All of a sudden, the son doesn't want to be there. He wants to leave the house. He doesn't want to be part of the exorcism, want to be part of the blessing. And your father forces him to stay. So like no one leaves the house. So it's just kind of those things that you get that confirmation that you're getting that from the people with the gifts, and then you're seeing what's really going on. If it wasn't for someone telling me that the son brought it in, I would have caught that. He wants to leave, fine. He's just a teenager. He wants to go. He doesn't want to be part of it. But I wouldn't have caught on that. And the next thing you know, you're doing your thing. You leave, and the thing is still there, and you don't know why. So it's just trying to really close the loop and make sure you cover all your bases.
So I'm going to throw you a curveball. What happens if a family and this demon does not respond to religion? Now, think about this question before you answer it, because there are cases where people become oppressed and possessed by something that's nothing to do with religion. How do you identify that? Have you ever come across that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really worry about whether someone's Catholic, for example. I don't really care about the denomination. The thing is that you have to have consent to be able to do anything. If the person is not willing to give consent, then I can't do anything, no matter how much I want to, and I can't. So, having said that, there are people out there who say, I don't believe in God, but I'm possessed. Can you help? I said, well, I can't, because my weapons are God. God's weapons. Yeah. I mean, I don't go in there. This is not Plato's, weapons. This is God's weapons. I'm going in there, and I'm going to use God to get rid of. So if you can't believe, then I don't know how I can help you. I've had people who say I don't believe. Well, you have to believe, and but even if you don't believe, you have to at least accept the fact that you're out for help, and I will help you. I don't have to be religious to help you. I will use what I have with God to help you. I don't need you to be religious, but I don't need you to say, well, I don't believe in God, or they're very absolutely, like, they have this absolute statement that I just absolutely do not believe in God. I just want you to come and help so I can get on with my life. Well, that doesn't work that way. You have to be able to, it's God that I'm using. So, and also, the belief, it's kind of difficult. It's a difficult question to answer, because it's very hard to see someone who can make a statement like, well, I have an oppression, which means I have something evil in me. Can you believe in something evil if you can't believe in the God, right? So and you're actually looking for help. So if you're looking for help and you're looking for to get rid of this thing. So obviously you have to believe in something. It does, like I said, you don't have to be Catholic, you don't have to be Anglican. You have to be able to at least believe that there's a higher power,
Right.
that
But
is
I guess
governing the universe.
no, I agree with you, but I guess where I'm going with this question is, what happens if the entity is not what you think it is? And I'm going to give you an example, and I don't know what you believe in or not. It's all over the news lately that there are alien crafts. We don't know what they are. Okay. And it's not a demon up in the sky that built a spacecraft and is flying. I'm not going to buy that. And there are people that come forward and saying, I am being affected, such as the movie The Fourth Kind, such as the movie Sightings and all these other documentaries that they say that this thing is affecting me. It is not a demon. Have you ever come across that, and how would you deal with it?
I have come across something like that a couple times. Again, I'm up and about whether they are demonic or not in nature. I think it would be naive to think that the universe is just there and there's nothing in it. I think there's definitely good and bad. I believe that there are UFOs. I believe that there are. I have come across people who actually believe and have encountered such things. I think again, what I do is when I deal with something like that, I deal with it. I change the term God into more of a universal kind of energy, positive. I know that. Yes. So what I'm using. So it's basically my terminology. I still see God as the same thing, but I don't use religion or the religious terms anymore. When I deal with something like that, it's about I need to create a more positive energy to outcome what's going on. I need to use that for protection. Again, these are some of the mystic things that are going on in the world that we use, whether it's Reiki, whether it's crystal work, whether we use the light work. I'm all for that. I think that there's some that can be used for those things. I just turn off the religious part. I mean, just basically just deal with putting up my own spiritual sort of energy level is risen. I believe in vibrations. I believe in the higher energy. I believe in those things, those frequencies. So there's just your approach has to be different. And so then, so I turn off the bishop sort of mode and I get right into sort of like, using God as a more positive force. And I call him, the universal creator, the higher power, the higher energy, the higher entity, and the force, like Star Wars, like the force, So but you have whatever approach you want to take, it's really the same thing, but you're just sort of changing the narrative and you're just changing the way you're describing it. But it's really the same thing. It's just the way I just get rid of the religious, because I know that people don't want to hear the Our Fathers and the Hail Marys and all that, and that's perfectly fine. I just strictly with. So basically, I'm playing with them or playing against them on their terms. Okay, on their level of playing, on what they believe and how they feel. So if they just, I believe in a higher power and I'm being by a negative power, well, that's just approach it that way.
No, I agree with you, and I like that the way you go about it. And it's about intent, belief. The person has to also have some sort of belief and work with you to remove it if they are truly being affected by something. And you have to go through, of course, the whole psychology of the family and the person. And I want to ask you this, you said a paranormal team goes in there first. So what would be revealing evidence from a paranormal team before you walk into a home to say that that's demonic?
Well, just paranormal team. We have walked in. There's a paranormal team, and we have members that have gifts.
Okay.
We have intuition, we have clairvoyance, we have clairaudience, and we can walk in there and we can tell just by looking at them whether they're possessed or not, or have an attachment. So we've also been able to determine whether or not it is of a Luciferian background or galactic. So there are people who are attached to galactic possession. There are races out there that do want to take over human race
Yeah.
and prevent the evolvement of the human race. However, there are people that do allow that to come into their body. There are people that want to work with them.
Huh.
Oh,
That's
true.
interesting. You just said that. That's fascinating. That I was looking to hear that. And
or they get they get so used to having this
They have a
attachment.
fascination with it, and they just want to work with them, and they may not necessarily know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
But they're working with them, and they're allowing them to take over their bodies.
Makes sense.
wow.
And Sister Lucie, I have experienced people like that.
Well,
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting, and I like the way you put that, because there's a lot of people that do need help, and I love what both of you do. You know, Plato, you've been around the clock a long time. I know you're supposed to come to our house actually before COVID hit.
I remember you actually. I remember you two were having some issues, and I remember telling you,
Yeah.
move
You know,
move the show outside of your home because you're having
Yeah,
I'm glad, I remember that.
I will say this. I like what you're doing, and I like the fact that you're helping people. And you said it. You do separate and see exactly what's going on, whether it's something else or it's a demon. And most commonly, if we know it as a demon, but there are other things that affect people as well. I know the things that we see flying in the sky is not an imagination. That NASA and our former presidents have admitted that we don't know what they are. And then people are coming forward and saying, hey, there's something wrong with me. I'm not okay. Yeah. And there's many, many people now coming forward. Some is make-believe. They just want attention. And there are all these true documented cases, and they need help. And there's a lot, and Plato, you said it, look, we're a little rock in the middle of a galaxy. It's all we are, a little rock, a little piece of sand. So who are we to say that we're alone, right?
We're not.
And you bring in the higher power during these sessions to help people. And I think that's the best way, and pretty much the only way that it could possibly be done, right? Separate religion from what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I think the mainstream churches today are just sort of they sort of got their way set, and they don't open up their minds to what is out there, maybe above and beyond, or like the use of the gifts that Sister Lucie would have. And again, Sister Lucie's very, very versed, again, more so than I am, with the galactics and all this other, the lizard people and the lizard aliens, and like I hear about it from everybody, and I believe it because I've seen how they have affected people, and so, but I'm not the expert, so I need people like Sister Lucie. This is the reason why my goal was, okay, going forward, I'm going to start creating orders, like her sister order, her sisterhood is basically, and her agenda is to bring on women or men who have great gifts, but because again, that's not my specialty. I'll go in and I can be the last guy who does the kick butt, kind of thing. But it's the whole thing is really I just step back. I just start to step back and let them do their thing because they are like extraordinary. And all I'm concerned about is the outcome of the person who's affected.
Yes.
I don't care if it's me or somebody else. It's not anything that I have to do. If I can help them by bringing someone who can actually do the work, like Sister Lucie, by all means. And like I mean, we're almost approaching 8 billion people on the planet, right? And I mean, and more than half. Well, really, and more than half of those individuals are women. And if we go back even in Catholicism and Greek Orthodox and Christianity and the history, we've got a lot of women saints that were mystics and showed extraordinary gifts and sort of like because I mean, a mystic is really a Catholic word for clairvoyant. So they've extraordinary gifts to be able to draw that stuff from God, that energy. They were able to they suffer, they sacrifice, they did all kinds of things, and we sort of, I think people just lost touch of that history, and so I'm thinking to bring that back. It's like there are so many people, and the Bible even in Revelations, it said, in the end times, the old, the young will have visions, they'll have dreams, and they are. Sister Lucie, has visions, and we work together. We do energy work together. We share energy, and because even that's something that's new to me, and so I'm always open to learning new things. And
I like that about you. Yeah,
well,
I like that about you.
I'm willing to try everything at least once anyway. But I mean, like I said, half 4 billion women in the planet, and if a great number of them have these wonderful gifts, then why are we not allowing them to come forward and help people? I mean, it makes no sense. It's a wasted resource. It's a wasted gift, especially when Scripture said it. Christ said it himself. At the end times, people will have visions and have dreams. For what reason? To help people. So it's to give us that enlightenment, to give us that higher attunement of what we should be doing. So any tool I can use, any person that has gifts, I can utilize and work with. The more the merrier. If Sister Lucie can build her sisterhood with 100 or 1,000 more women with mystic gifts, all the better. And especially if they're all over the world, it's even better, because I get calls from the UK, Australia, Africa. I get the United States, everywhere, and I can't get there. I can't help them as like I want to. I wish I could just quit my job and just travel around the world and help people. That would be a dream, but unfortunately, it's not the reality right now. So that would be wonderful. But if we can get people out there that have these extraordinary gifts that can go in and help determine, or at least break it down and decipher what is really going on. Is it a UFO thing? Is it a Luciferian thing? Is it a demonic? What is going on? Or is it just mental health? What is it? That's where it becomes key. I think it's just such a complex thing now. So the more people we can bring in these extraordinary gifts, extraordinary resources, even in their physical sort of world, where they may be doctors, they may be lawyers, they all can share in that knowledge, of helping us out, and figuring out what is wrong with people that we can help them. And I think with COVID, the things that go on in the world, I don't know why people are acting the way they are, to be honest with you. So,
there's just so much, there's so much evil going around the world today. I mean, do you think that like just all the, nothing to do with paranormal, just all the horrible things that are going on, do you think that has anything to do with the what's going on?
That's the revelations unfolding. That's exactly what that is.
Well, the devil's work, if you want to call it devil, or alien work, whatever. It's to create the illusion of no hope. There's no hope. I mean, kids are telling me, what's the point? I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to own a house. Can never afford a house. And the world's going to end. And why am I bothering? And so I'm getting a lot of that. Children are committing suicide during COVID because they couldn't cope with being locked down. Their education has been disrupted. Their college diplomas, their degrees, their futures, the marriages have off, and so because of the lockdowns and all the social distancing and all that was required. So a lot of people have just, and I don't know if they just, the lack of hope is just sort of brought them down to a level where the evil is now taking hold of them and saying, why bother? So so again, it's like we're not even helping them spiritually. We're trying to help them to build up their empowerment. I mean, Sister Lucie, again, one of her other agendas is to start empowering some women, because it seems like the mainstream churches want to just knock the women down. You don't see them involved. And there's still no place for them there. And I agree. I don't think so. I think there's a place for everybody, and I think so if we can build people up, build children up, build people up that have been knocked down in the last little bit, that's the best way to attack evil. That's the best way. Positiveness, love, and support. I mean, that's the best way to give it back to evil. So,
Sister Lucie, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Can you tell us one of your visions?
Uh-oh.
There's only 450,000 people listening to you, so go ahead.
That's all. Yeah.
Right? Just it's almost 500,000. Okay. I've had some catastrophic events occurring. I've had us going into spiritual battle. It was actually when Archbishop Plato and I had met, and the two of us were going into battle. We actually had our swords drawn and we were getting ready for battle. So I do believe that we are in end times. I do believe that we are dealing with the Luciferians as well as the galactic invasions as well. I do believe that people are lost at this time. And if they are, they could be vulnerable to such possession. So this is a time where we need to be strong in our faith and our belief. And I've had so many visions. I mean, ever since I met him, my whole life's changed. He just has a way of changing people's lives. It was a relief having met him because it wasn't of the strict religious sense. So it allowed us to use our gifts.
I like that. So the vision isn't good. It's kind of grim from what I'm hearing.
No.
No, it is. However,
free will and mankind can be changed upon the will of a person and the belief to help others move forward. And I think he's on a great mission. You said something that gave me goosebumps. What are lizard people?
They would be called the reptilians. Some people believe that race is not for the evolution of the planet. Some people believe the Palladians had seeded and are watching over Earth for their evolution. And some people believe the reptilians are similar to the Luciferians, which are trying to bring down the human race.
Wow. So in retrospect, I believe in the higher power, God. Did God create these other things as well? That these reptilians, for example, or were they something just totally separate?
I think at some point, I mean, we can only speculate really, but I mean, I think there's a higher energy, which I'll call God, and somewhere in between all that, between us and God, there's many forms of things out there in the world, in the universe, whether, I mean, we start off with Luciferian, but I mean, that might have just been a general term, because back in the ancient times, anything evil was demonic. Right. And, now the mainstream churches are so narrow minded, like pretty much anything clairvoyant, for example, clairvoyancy, anything. I mean, we can use the word magic for, but what is magic? The term magic is something that is a new technology that we don't understand. It's magic. So we just call it magic. So, I mean, something that we do today would be considered magic back in the 1200 or 1100 AD, right? So, I mean, travel the moon would have been, oh my God, it's demonic, So as we evolve and our technologies, advance, and our awareness and our, and our awareness and our sort of our awakening and being more in tune to things, being more open-minded to the spiritual things, and there's so much of that. I think we can't rule out the fact that that somewhere out there there's so much out in the world, in the galaxy, that we can't even stand. Did God create them? Perhaps. Was there another falling of angels? When he says the angels fell, 1/3 of the angels, left heaven and fell like lightning on the earth. But did that include 1/3 of of the whole universe? I mean, so how are we to know, right? So we can always pay, but the thing is, we don't know. So it could be, I can look at it, could be, but we don't know. So when you're talking about the fallen angel, the Enoch, I mean, I go way beyond and start using the Gnostic Gospels. I start looking at the Book of Enoch, the Watchers, and I mean, there's so much, and it's all during the time of Noah, during the time of Adam and Eve, and there's so much that's going on. How much of it is can we account to actually as historical fact? So that is what I look at all those things and I say to myself, well, you know what? There's something to all this. There is something to all this. I don't have all the answers, but certainly if I keep my mind open, things will start coming. more of the knowledge will summon through. I can only deal with certain things at a time, obviously, but obviously I've evolved from my own personal spiritual belief, and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and as a boy working my way up to now, evolving to believing that there's so much good types of evil and obviously some positiveness. Why wouldn't there be other societies and other planets in the universe that don't have both their evil and good? Right? They're both their agendas. Who's to say, right? Yeah. It's so hard. I think it's just an astronomical question. It's just too high to be able to answer at this point. But I wouldn't rule anything out at this point, honestly. I think the more I try to figure it out, the more questions I get than answers. So
yes,
just being protective of each other, staying positive, keeping hope, taking care of one another, passing it forward, sort of thing, giving it forward. Doing those things seem to have a positive effect on evil, even aliens or anything. I say evil, I mean anything evil, anything that does not have a positive agenda for us as a human race, or our soul, or our spiritual being. Anything that is detrimental, I would call evil. When I say evil, I'm not even talking about Satan or the demonic or the demons. I'm talking about anything out there in the universe that is negative. It could be a negative vibration or an energy, because that's what the universe is made of. It's positive. It's negative. It's white matter, dark matter. It's matter, antimatter. There's a positive and a negative. It's just the universal. It's a universal norm. There's always, in our energy, our poles, a negative pole, a positive pole. There's wherever there's going to be a positive, there's going to be a negative. So now it's gone far beyond than just giving it a term of the devil. It's anything negative, even in the form of energy or spiritual awareness, anything that and people do it. We create, as we're creative beings, where we create negative. When we're negative about our future, negative about ourselves, self-esteem, being brought down, our confidence, all those things are negative, and we emanate a very negative energy. So if being an exorcist, or even just a priest, and go in, or even just good old Plato goes in and give you a little bit of a positiveness. I mean, I'll go to a drive-in and pick up a drive-through, should I say, pick up a coffee, and I just coffee for the guy behind me, and I can already just sense the positiveness of, oh wow, that was a real nice thought. It's just the little acts that we do can just change that frequency so much. I just made someone's day. It's just things like that. I just when I started doing things like that, I started noticing that we can have a profound effect on people if we look at it from that perspective.
No, I definitely agree with you. Sister Lucie, so you gave us a vision to come, which I have to be quite frank with you, I kind of see that too. I mean, I agree with you that that's where we're headed. But things can be changed. But has any vision that you've had in the past come through?
There is no time frame on it, so I'm not sure, because I've seen a lot of catastrophic events. And also, I'm not able to determine whether or not we're talking about physical or not, because I've also had visions of alien invasion. So whether or not that's an actual physical occurrence, or they're just coming in and taking over the spirit. And when I went to a flight in England last week, I saw 3 people on the plane who were overtaken. This was the day before the Queen passed. I was flying from London, England, back here to Canada, and I saw 3 people on that plane alone that were overtaken. Visually, I could see them being overtaken, because the eyes are the windows to the soul, so you can just see it in their eyes, because they would go in between their soul and they would go in between. So you would see them going shifting.
Wait.
I got the chills.
Wait, let's back up a second here. Wait, now my head's spinning.
I got the chills.
When you said,
maybe I shouldn't have said anything.
No,
taken over, I need you to specify on
Because
that.
we're afraid what you're going to see when you look at us.
No, I can't even see you guys. You're so small.
Yeah. No, but what did you see when you said taken over on that plane?
I believe that those souls that are not lost and they don't have a purpose, that they are vulnerable to any kind of takeover. So I believe that, for instance, the reptilian race could go and take that body and use that body for its purposes of destruction.
Destruction.
Is that
right?
like
so we want to
permanent
destroy
thing?
anything of God.
It's really a form of possession if you really think about it. It's just not.
It's a form of
Yeah.
possession, but it's
It's still a form
galactic.
of possession.
So what we're dealing with that's different in this day and age is we're not dealing with the normal demonic possession we've been talking about. We're dealing with galactic possession now.
Mhm. Now, is that a permanent thing, or can
No,
it
she
be?
said in and out.
So it's in and out.
Well,
Okay.
they go in and out, right? I mean, they still act, they still have to function their daily duties. They're still the person that they are. It's just when I see them and I look at them, I can see that they do this shifty eye where kind of like snake eyes, looking black, looking face and eyes.
Oh.
And they
She's
shift
looking at me.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you, my
You're
wife,
not
just to check her eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
You want me to
This
look
could
in
be-
your eyes?
Yeah.
No, you're not. I don't see shifty going on.
Oh, thank God.
Well, it's funny.
See?
It's funny because we did have someone who studies the whole Galactic Federation, and she says I'm part of that federation, and I'm like, I'm looking at myself.
Oh, there's
I
a
don't look like a
difference.
reptilian as far as I look in
No.
the mirror.
No, there's a
Yeah.
difference. So Galactic Federation is actually the part that's overseeing the evolvement and ascension of Earth. So the Galactic Federation is actually comprised of several planetary beings who are looking for the evolvement of the planet. I'm talking about the races that are against that. The races that are trying to hold so saying Galactic Federation, that's cool.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
But I have heard.
an idea.
But I have heard. But I have heard that term before.
Council.
I have a question. I have a question, and I need you to think about this question. We all go to school. We've all learned ABC, 1, 2, 3, and division and everything else. How come we are never, ever taught anything about what we're talking about? Where did this Galactic Federation knowledge and these lizard people knowledge, where does it come from? Where I need to know, like, who is the founding father that discovered this and pushed it forward?
Yeah, it's coming from people that have been involved with them. Secret government projects are coming forward. Whistleblowers, people who have been abducted, and a lot of people have been given that knowledge now, and a lot of people are coming forth and led to know that there's things going on. Even now, the military in the States, the Air Force. Oh yeah, we got visual objects that are captured in the Air Force jets, and there they are on TV. So they're slowly integrating the information out there. I just don't know why a lot of this stuff is being kept secret. I don't know if they're working with them. I've heard stories there are people on the moon, and there's this, and I've heard so many stories. But these are people who apparently are military, have a high level of security, who are coming forward and say, "Yeah, I worked on a project. Yeah, we're talking about the stuff like this."
You know what's scary is that you said that these things can take you over, whether it's possession of a demon or a possession of one of these alien races, right? Mm-hmm. Now let's look at the higher forms of government around the world. That would mean to me, from what you're saying, that if these things could take over a person at will, they could destroy mankind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's their agenda.
We're in a battle of good versus evil right now. We're in spiritual warfare.
Because they can make push a button and it's over for everybody.
They're using bodies. Yeah. So this is a time where this is why I'm getting the visions I'm getting. We spiritually, Archbishop Plato and I are standing there at the forefront with our swords ready to do battle. And we're doing battle with anything that's trying to hold back the ascension of Earth right now.
Yeah, wow. It's gone beyond church and
beyond what we've
institutions. Done. I mean, like I said, its possession now is like any form of of an intrusion on the body and on the soul for detrimental purposes. That's basically what it's gone to that level. So it's like, and who's to say that this hasn't been happening for thousands of years? Except back in the day, we just called it demonic possession. You know, people saw people at their windows. People said, "Oh, we see these creatures come at our window." Who's to say the aliens weren't abducting or infiltrating people or doing things back then? There's even Vatican photographs, Vatican portraits that have back in, they're like 200-300 years old that they show saucers in the pictures. So who's to say that this hasn't been going on for thousands of years? But we just sort of just put under one umbrella and called it a demon, possession, and witchcraft or whatever you want to call it. So, we in our simplistic vocabulary back in the day, couldn't give an example of what that was. So, but now, we have to look into it in a more modern form and say, wait a minute, it's still a form of possession. It's still a form of intrusion,
True.
infestation. And for what reason? A detrimental reason. And of course, we say we got angelic guardians. Okay, we've got angelic guardians, so we've got our own guardian angel. How is it say that those aren't actually aliens as well? Look for our well-being, who are watching over us and making sure that we make the right choices and we make the right decision and we stay on track. I just can't rule. With everything that I've seen, I can't rule it out. I mean, I have to open my mind and just change the vocabulary and change the wording, because it's the wording that becomes constrictive, and holds you back and say, well, oh no, we can't talk about that because it's, we don't have the vocabulary to describe what's going on, but we have to open ourselves up to that.
Yeah, we're more open-minded these days. Where back then, if we would have talked about these things, we would have been sent off to the asylum.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, of course. And I really like what you're doing. I actually love what you're doing, because, I think that one of the worst things is people say, well, one religion, one way, the only way, and no other beliefs, and nothing else exists. And that is the most untrue thing, because now, today's day and age, we're seeing crafts out there that are unexplainable, and our own government's admitting to some of this stuff. So I like that. And people and the listener out there, have an open mind, because we don't know everything. And Plato hit it on the head, that it's an intrusion of the body, of the mind, and, goodwill and faith and love and trust and pushing a good deed forward helps humanity. And then people like yourself and your team, Plato and Sister Lucie, move forward with the sword and bring in people and help others around the world. I love it.
We want to grow.
We're coming to the very end, because there's another show coming on, but we want to thank you and tell the listeners where they can find you and all that good stuff. And how can they get help?
Well, we've got our Facebook pages. I think that's pretty standard, but I think Sister Lucie's got a YouTube page as well, a show. You can be found on that as well. I think most people can get us through Messenger and Facebook. That's pretty much where we're at. We're not into the web pages and whatnot. We don't focus on that kind of sort of structure. We just, we are who we are. We put our stuff on online, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. And so I think Facebook can reach us, either one of us.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on Horsefly Chronicles Radio. We really appreciate it. We want to have both of you back, because this has been by far a very interesting topic, discussion with your knowledge. And there's a lot more to go. Julie, wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show from day one. And please join us next Monday on United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. And stay tuned for Trishma with the missing piece. It was very nice to meet you, Sister Lucie. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
My pleasure, guys.
Night.
All right.
You.
Have a great
Push the
night.
positivity forward to the listener, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.